Today's video is all about Stoicism, mental health, and how it plays into our self-development. What do you think of yourself? What do you think of the way you talk to yourself? How about the way you value yourself? No matter how much we love ourselves or how strong our self-esteem is, we're still going to run into self-doubt and insecurities. It's inevitable. How we've trained our minds is going to be the biggest factor in how we choose to come back from those insecurities, or even how we choose to deal with them when they show up in our life. And I'm not talking just about insecurities. This is also relevant to roadblocks, tough decisions, hard choices that we have to make in our life about whether it's our own life or that affecting other people's. Our minds are one of the most powerful tools that we are all born with that no one can take away. But it's up to us to decide how we train it and strengthen it. A few years ago, I started really understanding the Stoics for their mindset and not just for their inspirational quotes. They all had incredible hardships, massive wins, huge losses, and most of them were exiled at one point or another. But because they had put the work in first to train themselves to prepare for these situations, they used those times to make them stronger. They bettered themselves without losing their humility and without inflating their ego. In fact, the Stoics actually believed that humility and curiosity were the paths to wisdom. The key to a strong mind is a constant curiosity, a desire to know more, and an understanding that we are never going to know everything. Every single person we see knows something we don't. Epictetus, which I think I said that wrong, but maybe I said it right, he said that it is impossible to learn that which we think we already know. To improve our mentality and our mental strength, we need to ask questions, always, about ourselves, about life, about our beliefs, about the world around us. Question everything. We do need to be asking questions about ourselves in an effort to always be discovering who we are, what we believe, and what we stand for. If we think we know who we are, but we never question it, we're never going to know who we might be. David Goggins is a man that I admire, and I feel like he embodies Stoicism really well. He also encourages questioning your mind. In his analogy, he compares our minds to the governor in a car. And so the governor is this thing in the vehicle that when you get up to, let's say, 200 kilometers an hour or 200 miles an hour, everything's gonna rev up. And this governor is telling your vehicle, like, slow down, man, you're gonna blow up or you're going to break down, but you can't keep going this fast. The problem is the car could go faster if the governor wasn't there telling it couldn't. You can set the governor to a higher speed and the car is going to drive up to that and match it, and then it's going to say again, slow down, we can't keep going this fast. David Goggins questioned the governor in his mind that kept telling him he couldn't run faster or farther, or that he was as useless and stupid as his teachers had told him he was. He got rid of those voices, he got rid of that governor, and he was able to go and beat everything that he had set up as his own limits. He not only changed what his limits were, but he also changed what he thought about himself and how he thought about himself. By blowing past one limit, he was able to understand like he's been missing out on so much because his limits have been so much lower than they actually needed to be. So back to the questions I asked in the beginning. How do you think of yourself? Do you set yourself limits on what you're allowed to think of yourself? Consider how you've spoken to yourself when you won, when you fail, when you feel like you are working so hard but you don't know if you're going to quite achieve what you're going for. How you speak to yourself is where we start setting those limits, and that is also where we start setting our set point of our minds. To reset our limits and to start strengthening our mindsets, we need to first remind ourselves when we fail or when we are on our road to failure that we are only human. We need to take a minute and look at all we've accomplished. David Goggins calls this the cookie jar, and it is one of my favorite exercises on learning how to balance humility and the ego. Both are important and both are necessary. The cookie jar method works like this. In your head, or even if you want to put it on a scrap of paper, you write down all your favorite things about yourselves, anything that feels like a win, no matter how big or small, and anything you feel like you've accomplished. You keep these memories, you put them in this cookie jar, and when you have a woe is me moment and your mind is telling you, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do this, I don't know if we're gonna be able to persevere, you reach into that cookie jar and you can pull out one of those things you accomplished, and you just marinate in it for a little bit. Don't just like list this accomplishment, but actually think back to how you felt when you accomplished that, when you got that grade, when you ran that mile. That is the energy that is going to keep you going forward and improving your mental strength. It's also a reminder that you've overcome all these other things that you didn't think you were going to accomplish, and one day that's going to be the piece that you pull out when you're struggling, and you're going to think, I overcame that, I'll overcome this. With a Stoic mindset, this is where you also start questioning, why are you feeling that way? Is this a belief that you actually hold for yourself, or is this something you've proven to yourself? Question why you are acting the way you are, question why you are talking to yourself the way you are, and why you are thinking the way you are. There's no wrong answers. It's just a place to learn. As some of you may know, I'm going to be a parent this year. I'm about 15 weeks pregnant when I film this, and one of my biggest goals as a parent is to use Stoicism to teach my kids about mental health and self-development. I think it's one of the most perfect things for curious minds, and who are more curious than children? If you're still watching at this point, please let me know down below what you think about this take on mental health and self-development. Also, if you'd like to share, I would love to know what area of your life do you have the governor set to a place that's too low. You know that your limits could be higher. For myself personally, it's my physical health. It's really slipped in 2020, and with the gyms closed, I'm not climbing, I'm not doing much. And I know I'm growing a baby, so I do have a justification for the fatigue and the lack of energy. Even then, I think because I'm tired, I'm using that as an excuse to be even more tired than I actually am, if that makes sense. So moving forward, I have been pushing myself to really be honest with myself and push myself to my full limit, not just sitting there saying, but this feels more comfortable. I think there's a quote from Marcus Aurelius actually that, and I'm gonna butcher this, but he says, we're meant for more than just waking up and snuggling in under warm covers. There's a world out there that you're supposed to change and take part in, so go do that. We have to be strong, mentally and physically and spiritually, to be able to do that. Speaking on that, if you're new, my name is Sarah and this channel is Sarah Refined. I make videos here every week for self-development and learning how to live with intention. This video that you just watched is part 4 out of my 5-part series on development, and next week is actually going to be about the spirituality. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss next week's video. And if you are interested, please feel free to watch the previous 3 videos in this series. I will link them all down below, and there are lots of playlists as well if you would like to stick around on the channel for a while. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you have the best day. And just remember, when you improve yourself, you improve the world. Bye.